Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to us this special day. I have someone with us that I really enjoy his company, his friendship. I met James in one of the churches that I was pastoring not long ago, but like 5 years ago. And he was the one who was giving the support for the audio, for the video and everything. And because I didn't really know him really well, I was trying to use someone else to bring all the technology to my church. But after the first encounter that we had, I knew that this guy was the big deal. So I know that he's really humble. He doesn't want to say anything about himself, but it's an amazing opportunity for me to introduce my dear and good friend, personal friend, James Maillet. He is the owner of Audio Video, is Networks Audio Video. I always get confused for that, X. I'm sorry, James, but you know how it is. Can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Thank you, Eli. Yes, my name is James. I am the president of Networks Audio Video. We've been in business since 2011. And really the foundation of the company is based on helping houses of worship. And so what we do is help with sound systems, with video projection, with live streaming, video production, whatever it is that really is needed within that, that's what we do. And so, Eli and I, we were talking about maybe we should come up with something where we can help, the community at large with questions that are on our minds and on our hearts, and especially now in this time where we have a pandemic happening, and wow, does it ever affect what's happening around us? And it was kind of like, how can we help maybe answer questions that might be there? So I'm glad to be here. I'm excited, and I'm hoping that this is something we'll do on a regular basis so that everybody can tune in and ask questions, and then we can have answers for you.
Yeah, that's my hope, that we will have this one at least once a week, and we will be able to help a lot of people who is struggling, as you said it, in this pandemic. Because what I have found, and we have conversations before, you and me, regarding how many churches are not really ready to face these times. And the reality that we're facing is completely different. No one was ever ready for this kind of things. First time in history that something like this is happening. And like in our case, we're living in Canada, we're in Ontario, Canada. In certain areas like the one that I am in, the upper area of Toronto, in the Barrie area, we're about to open the churches. They opened last week. I don't know how is your area in Markham, Ontario, but I know that a lot of churches were not ready. And I'm talking about being ready with good audio, good resolution, and not just what they are going to bring into the table to, not just to feed their flock as a church, as a pastors, but also what they have to build up inside, an experience that a lot of people might have, like you, like me, that we can gently help them under these circumstances. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to have several questions. And if you have comments, you have questions, I'm going to leave James' company's website on the description below. Also, if you can like this video, please subscribe. We're going to be doing this tech talk and another kind of talks. I also have in this channel is Hope for Today TV. And I have it also in Spanish in the same channel, Esperanza para el Día de Hoy. And you can find a lot of things that it can be useful for you. If you want to share this video with someone else, we're going to be posting this one on Facebook and also on YouTube. Feel free. This is for everyone, and this is for free. His experience is an amazing experience. So let me start with the first question to you, James. The first question for you, James, what are the biggest challenges you believe churches are facing in this time regarding technology?
Technology today has really evolved in that sense. But what churches are facing, the biggest thing right now, their challenge is budget and meeting a budget of any kind. With the spaces being closed to worshipers and not being able to come in, churches have not been receiving as much donations as they normally would, where some people may not bring tithes and just bring offerings and maybe only use the offering plate as a mechanism, and either are not set up or are not comfortable with, or cannot donate online, and maybe just can't even donate as much as they used to because their income is shrunk. And so that is something that I've been hearing from some of the churches, is that the amount of available funds is just not there like it used to be. And so really, one of the challenges is to be able to find affordable solutions. But the thing is that an affordable solution, if it's just a matter of saying, I'm going to buy something because it costs less, it may not be the right solution. So it has to be both effective, and it also has to be scalable. In other words, if you need it to grow, it has to be able to grow. It can't just be something that I need one today, so I only get one. But if I need two tomorrow, well, I'm going to have to take this one and put it aside and now buy something that allows for two. So whatever your plan is, if you are thinking of that you're going to need 2 or 3 or 4, that is what's going to have to be part of that solution. It's something that is scalable and can grow, and it is effective, that it's able to do what you need it to do today, as opposed to something that just gets you through today, not thinking about tomorrow, just to save a little bit. Because sometimes, even though finances are tight, even though budget is tight, it makes us a better steward when we are thinking about what we're not only spending today, but we're also going to spend a month or 5 or 6 months from now, or a year or 2 from now. So
yeah, and I totally agree with you, because I've been working in several churches in Latin America, in the United States, and also here in Canada. And one thing that all our churches have is in a specific room, the storage room, the evil storage room, where you see all the older technology that it has been just like let it go to bring new technology. But what you are suggesting, and I love that suggestion, effective and scalable, because that was the thing that it really made me to fall in love with your work and with your art in technology. Because I remember that we were trying to bring the live stream on the church that I was working with, and you said, you can buy this, it's going to be cheaper, but at the end of the story will end up being more expensive, because you will spend certain amount of money on a device that you will end up just like putting in the storage room, but you will end up spending more when you buy the new product. So that's one of the things that I really like, is stop wasting the money, but start investing effectively and smart. Because one of the main things that I really have as a philosophy, as a worship and arts pastor everywhere I go, is this one. You have to be careful with the money, because it's God's money. And I know that that's one of the main worries that we have as pastors. And that's the reason why I love James' heart in a personal level, but in his business, he doesn't recommend and suggest anything that he won't advise to anybody else. In what I love from James, and he told me several times, I don't want to sell you product, I want to help you. And that's a mentality that you have to think about. So his advice is this one: as pastors, think about it. If you're going to buy something from Amazon, I'm sorry, Amazon, made in that is gonna come in just 3 months, you will spend, let's say, $100, and in 3 months you will know that you will have it in your hands, but also that it won't work as you wish. You will waste $100 from God's money when you can spend $300 in a product that maybe your local retailer will have here. You're helping the economy, but also you're investing the time, you're investing the money, and you're putting the money back into your local community. And as pastors, I think and I believe that is really, really, really important. So finding affordable solutions that are both effective and scalable, right, James?
absolutely. And that brings us to the call to action. So as an action, what can we do? Well, first off, we can research. So we can also attend seminars and webinars. And what I say is, increase your knowledge on technologies that can benefit your church. So this is what you're really doing, as you try and learn more. And also, one of the things that you can do is, just as Eli did, locate a technology partner. that can help you understand how products can work together, and always ask if it's compatible with other products that you're researching and how scalable it is. It's very important that you buy products that are scalable, that are compatible, and that have a future with your vision within your ministry.
Thank you, James. And this is something that I want to bring to your attention, to all the audience. I'm located hour and a half away from James. And this is a recommendation for all the pastors. Number one, for senior pastors, and for worship and art pastors, or the pastors who are in charge of the technology. This is about networking, right, James? It's about partnering with someone that you can trust.
Yeah.
Because you can find a partner like anybody else, or you can find a partner like James, that even though we don't work together anymore, I don't purchase anything from him, but because we have that God's connection, I can call him sometimes, and I use him as an ultimate resource. Like, I have no other option after I did my research and everything, because I know that he will answer me all the time. So my recommendation for all the pastors is develop friendship. Take time to meet your partners. Take time to get a coffee, take time. And it's not that you're trying to give preference to someone. No, we're trying to build up our communities, and we're trying to build up our partnerships. And like you see, James and I were just like having a chat about this, but we want to help you. He can help you. Remember, in the description below, you will see his website. I think that you can email him at any time and have questions, and maybe he can make you a couple suggestions. James, let me go to the next question really quick. Number 2, what are the main things churches have to improve right now during this time of social distancing?
One of the things that actually churches have been calling and asking about is live streaming. And what I think is that the quality of the live streaming experience is one of the things that needs to be improved at this time. So a number of times we're hearing about that the live stream just has issues with the audio timing, where the video and the audio are not aligned. They're mismatched, so that you hear the audio happening at a different time than what the video is happening at. And so this could result in someone's lips moving and then audio being heard, or vice versa, or even looking at the worship band, and as they're playing, it just feels like the instruments are being played like out of sync. And so that's one of the things there. In terms of the audio quality as well too, oftentimes what we hear within a worship space is different than what we would hear on a live stream. And that's because within the worship space, you have not only the sound that's being picked up to the microphones, but you have the acoustic sound. So if someone has an acoustic guitar or an acoustic piano, or even their voice, that is mixing in along with what the microphones and so on have. And it actually sounds different within the room. And so sometimes we need to do other things, and for a live stream, oftentimes it means a separate audio mix for live streaming. So it means that where the vocals are, if you need to, we may need to balance them higher. Where we have certain acoustic instruments, we may need to balance them higher. Or if we have some instruments maybe that are fully electronic or electric, we may need to reduce those in order to help balance out. We may need to have ambience microphones to be able to pick up around the space, so that you can hear a reaction from the congregation, whether they're singing along or whether they're laughing at the pastor's joke. So like those are all things that help improve the quality from an audio perspective. On the video side, there's also the cameras. What if the camera is a lower resolution? What if it's only a wide shot? Well, you may need to have something that allows you to have closer shots. You may also need to have a video production where you have multiple cameras with different views, allowing you to change from a wide view to a medium view to a close-up, back to a medium to another close-up to a medium to a wide or whatnot, and allow you at that point to have a whole video production, and potentially also having things like static images come up to say live stream will be starting shortly. So there are a number of things that can be done. And right now, we have been seeing that this is where a lot of the improvement questions have been coming, especially now at this time. And so we're should you be looking? I believe it's in the quality of the live streaming.
I totally agree. I don't know if you were talking about my experience, because I was the one who was having troubles with exactly that specific issue. It was 1.5 seconds delay, and it was just like, and then the audio was coming and it was completely off sync. The worship experience was really bad. And there's a lot of things that we can improve exactly in the quality of the live stream. And we're not talking, just remember, as a pastor, I'm telling you, we're not talking about what are you going to preach. That's a different can of worms. We're talking just about the quality of your live stream, the quality of your audio, but also, can you give us a really quick review regarding the lighting, because we always forget that one. Believe it or not, this morning, this day that we were recording this, we spent almost 45 minutes, almost an hour, just setting up his lighting, more than my lighting, I will say. And I have 3 lights in front of me just to make sure that the resolution is fine and the viewers can enjoy all the conversation. Can you speak, because you already talked about the video, you already talked about the audio, but can you talk about lighting a little bit, please?
Lighting angles, where you can actually surround with lighting will actually help in terms of having better clarity on the facial expressions and so on. It'll help with the contrast as well, so your camera doesn't have to work as hard to try and come up with a good quality image. So your colors will look better, your contrast will look better. And also when you have multiple lighting, especially lighting in the back as well too, it helps to provide more of a 3D look on the person, as opposed to just sort of a 2D flat look that you might have with only a straight light on, or maybe only a couple lights on. So there are different things that can be done.
Okay, so what are the actions that you can recommend us regarding this, James?
Yeah, so I think that some immediate actions that can happen is that you want to start off by making sure that your internet is sufficient in order to run a live stream. And live streaming, it can be done with as low as 5 megabits upload strength, but oftentimes you want to have 8 or more. Like if you're doing something 1080p, you probably want to have about 8 megabits as a minimum in terms of your actual stream. So from that point of view, you want to have maybe 15 to 20 megabits in terms of your upload capabilities. If you have maybe only a 5 megabit stream you're doing, you probably want about a 10 megabit.
Okay, sorry for the interruption, James, regarding this one, because I believe that it's really important, the question that I have. So 5 to 10 megabits per second upload is the minimum that you need for which resolution?
For 1080p.
For 1080p. But there is a risk that you will be uploading an image that will be choppy sometimes, and this is by experience. So just a suggestion, because I have done it several times, the faster the upload, not the download, because when the companies give you the download and everything, they say 250 megabits per second. You are like excited. No, you have to put an eye on how much you get for uploading, not downloading. Downloading, you can do 4K in 100 megabits per second, but when it's uploading, the more the best. So don't try to find, and I'm sorry for this, but don't try to find the cheapest, because you're trying to do the best for the gospel. And I know that it might be harsh at the very beginning, but listen, your audience will be grateful and happy about it. My videos, when I upload the videos from my channel, they are over 60 gigabytes for 10 minutes because of the quality of the image. And I've been learning in this process regarding that one. But remember, 10 megabits per second, 1080p, you will have a delay of 30 seconds. But if it's lower than that one, you have to make sure that your internet speed for uploading is fast enough, right, James?
Yeah, actually what we found is that if somebody's going to live stream, let's say on YouTube, oftentimes when you have a 1080p, you can oftentimes stream up with maybe a 5 megabit stream or an 8 megabit stream. Usually your stream, when it hits YouTube, the delay is about maybe 10 to 12 seconds from the person live and what is seen. But the thing is that if you have an upload which is close to double, around double as a minimum of what you're sending up, you should be okay. If you have something which, as an example, if you're trying to send 5 megabit and your upload is like 5 or 6, you're going to have some choppy things happening. Things are going to fail on you, where you would need probably a minimum of 8 in order to do 5. And I always try and recommend try and do double in order to give you that buffer.
Totally agree. I remember, because you are putting into the actions this, I remember that I was having troubles, and this is a suggestion that James gave me. In my worship time, everything was excessively loud, excessively like distortion, and I was not able to find a solution. So that was one of the days that I have to call you, and I was just like, hey James, guess who it is? And you were just like answering the phone. And this is the thing, James suggested me to have someone doing my mixing, because she said improve your audio mixing and connections for a better quality sound. I suggested, because of my experience with James, and he suggested me, like I said before, we are not working together anymore because I'm really far from him. But he just suggested me, we have a digital board, and I have a tablet connected to the board, and I have someone in a different room sitting down and doing the mixing for the worship and the service just for the online streaming. Can you tell us about the improving the mixing in the actions about the cameras and the angles again, please?
So in terms of the overall experience, we'll say, you want to first off, yes, improve the mixing, the audio mixing, and also connections, so that because depending on the connections, you might have some hum or whatnot, and so you want to make sure that you have the proper connections so that it's very clean. You have a very clean audio sound from your mixer. And if you do have the benefit of having a digital mixer, that it's much easier for you to have, one setting for your main system and one setting for your live stream, and being able to control it with something like an iPad to be able to make adjustments. And also with your video live streaming, if you have the benefit of having a video mixer as well too, because of having multiple cameras and doing a video production as such, then you're able to take all of that, being able to do a separate audio mix, a separate video mix as well too, and watch it live on some reference monitors so that you can see what's happening, what's being sent. It's very easy for you at that point to adjust the audio to right to where it needs to be, where the voices are all heard properly, all the instruments are all heard at balanced levels, that if there's anything to be fed back in for congregation reactions and so on, and participation, then it's easy for you to get all of that done. And so I think that also from the point of view of having multiple camera angles, it's such an important thing to have multiple angles. If you can, if you're starting, you may start off with one camera because that's all you can afford to do. And that's fine, but as long as you have a scalable system that allows you to add multiple cameras and grow with that, then that's where you want to go. And this would mean that at that point, maybe 2 or 3 cameras or 4 cameras, and being able to use them for different aspects. So as an example, if you have 2 on the sides and 1 in the center, you may be using some side shots, which might be medium and close-ups. And your center one, depending on what's happening within the service, might be a wide angle, it might be a medium angle, it might even be a close-up. And then at that point, it gives you the opportunity to switch between cameras. And oftentimes, you won't be switching from one close-up to another close-up unless it's on the keynote speaker, if you want to call it that, or the pastor walking around, or whoever's walking around and talking. Maybe the only time you want to change close-up to close-up, but oftentimes you might change close-up to a medium to a close-up to a medium to a close-up, and that sort of thing. And then even back to a wide whenever needed. You might even have another camera which its focal point is something back towards the congregation, where you could occasionally have close-ups on congregation, or medium shots, or wide shots back on the congregation to show some of that participation as well too. So those are ideas. having the ability to have a professional video switcher gives you other things like picture-in-picture capabilities,
I know.
having logos and titling. So there's a lot that can be done to improve. And so that's the call to action on this.
Just remember that this video is not sponsored by anyone else than James and me. So we're not promoting today at least cameras, but I remember that you suggested me a camera, that it was really good, but we're not going to talk about it because we have to go to the next question. But thank you for those inputs. And I hope that you as pastor and worship leader or senior pastor, you're learning something else. But this is one thing that I want to point out. We cannot have the luxury at this point anymore to be cheap on our live streams. Okay? This is the time that you have to invest. People, when you reopen your church, they're not going to come back that fast to the church because of the elders, because of the kids. So you have to invest, not spend. Remember, that's the reason why you need a partner. You need a good friend. You have to develop those friendships, those networking abilities that you have to put it in action and find someone like James, someone in your local store who can help you to address all these situations. But you cannot go on cheap. You cannot go cheap on these things. Start putting the money in your local businesses too. And this is just by experience in all the churches that I've been. There are things that you can go cheap. There are things that you have to invest because this is the image of your church online. Remember, and that's really important because church shopping is a trend. I don't like the image from this church. I mean, I like the worship from here and I like the message from here. So I won't go deeper on that one. That's another episode that we will do really soon, but still. Next question for you, James. What training do you think is essential? What training do you think is essential for success with technology inside our churches?
Audio and video. I mean, whatever comes for that, because, within the church, there's live audio mixing and there's also live video production. These are the two things that are taking place because live audio is what you need in order to not only, provide a proper balanced mix within the church space, but it's also what's going to be the basis of going out on a live stream. So that's very important that live audio mixing is training that people have in order to be able to understand, how do I do this? How do I set this up? How do I adjust this? Why should I be using this device as opposed to that device? How can I adjust this device to work, the best that it possibly can? And live video production, in the sense that, I need to understand, how do these devices interact with each other? How do I get them to work? How do I fade from one to the other? How do I, prepare for, a close-up or a medium shot or a wide shot? How do I make sure that whoever is on the other end of this lens looks good? Mm-hmm. That I'm doing, something that's proper, that I'm not just throwing a shot that at the end of the day we're scratching our heads and like, wow, that really doesn't look that good. I want to do that as well too, just as much as, I want to, do the best that I can on audio mixing. I want to also do the best that I can on video production. So those are things that I really believe that is important for training.
Definitely, you are 1000% right. And the reason why I say 1000% right is because happens to me that when I moved from my old cell phone, Android, to Apple, I never liked Apple phones. Long story short, when you move from one device to another one, we struggle. Just imagine you moving from Windows to the Apple computers. It's a complete different world. But this is the reason why I'm bringing this one to your attention. When you're excited about getting a new equipment, number one, make sure that you learn how to use the equipment. But also, and I've seen this one over and over in our churches, please, senior pastors, please, worship pastors, please, directors of music in your churches, start trusting in the ones who know how to handle the technology better than you. and that is the younger generation. Involve your youth, even kids. Kids are so better than anyone else with technology. I hear over and over stories of grandparents over 60 years old, where their 5 years old grandson is teaching them how to use an iPad. So you got the idea, right? James is talking about really important things. I'm trying to give you the perspective, the church perspective. Start trusting your youth. Train them. Number one, they have the time. Number two, they have the capability to learn, the learning ability to be part of these amazing teams. And listen, again, these are emergency situations that we have. But right now, you are facing a lot of problems in your church, like not having enough volunteers, because we were not ready for these kind of changes. But live stream, as James said before, is vital, is crucial for the success of your church. Your church is not going to be maybe full physically in the building, but listen, online people will be watching you, right, James?
Absolutely. In fact, right now, more people are watching online than they are physically within the spaces.
Yes.
And, you know, although we kind of say, you know, what takes place within the church, you know, is our church service, and anything that goes out is outreach. Well, at this point, live streaming is your outreach, but live streaming is also really a way of bringing the people back within the space and making them feel comfortable, like they're there again, even though they're not. And even though, yes, it's not the same, you don't have people surrounding around you singing along with you. You're not shaking hands, you're not hugging people, you're not having those face-to-face conversations that you had before. It's still a way of connecting and still keeping that connection. And it is so vital. And we know that, you know, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, even 2 years from now, not everybody is going to return to the seats. And some people are still going to want to remain distant and maybe only go sporadically. And so this is still a way to keep that connection alive, because we all need that connection. We all do.
Yes. So one of the things that you have, I'm sorry. One of the things that you need to know is this. In several churches that I work in big churches and small churches. And when you Google online before February 2020, everybody was saying, if your church doesn't have at least 300 members, you don't need a live stream. But guess what? Right now, it's a luxury to not to have a live stream in your church. That's the reason why we're trying to do this kind of calls to you, bringing these trainings, this information to you, for you to be aware that there's still hope for you. And this is going to be reflected in your income. We're not talking even about online giving, but there's a lot of platforms that you can use, but we're not talking about it yet. We're going to talk about it maybe later, but today we're talking about technology. So James, what are the actions that you think that we have to take regarding the training success in the live audio and the live production?
Well, I think one of the first things that can be done is to find some online or classroom-based learning classes that would help you improve your skills, or help those within your church to be able to improve their skills. You know, and that more than likely may be AV volunteers, which are learning that. Although from the classes that we've held, sometimes it's worship leaders, sometimes band members, sometimes pastors, sometimes people that are just on the church board. And you know, that want to come in and learn. Some people are also, depending on what it is they do, maybe one person does audio, one person does video. So we found a wide number of people, because it's not just the person who goes in and regularly does this on a service, but it's also the people that are backing up, is they want to know too. And so I think whatever, you know, learning classes that you can have that teach you how to do mixing, that teach you how to do production, that, you know, that help you understand the differences between different pieces of equipment, and not necessarily to say from brand A to brand B, but regardless of brand, because a lot of the equipment is similar in how it works, to understand differences in this and to understand the differences of cables and connections, so that when you try and connect something, when you try and plug something in, you know how to be able to set it up, how to get it to work, and how to be able to make it, sound or look as best as it can right from the get-go. Take the time to research manufacturer websites. There's something that you like or something you're interested in. What kind of how-to videos do they have? So start looking at it, see how you can use the products, how you might interact with them. Learn that in advance as well too, or even learn it after the fact. If you have something that you bought and you don't know how to use it, go find the how-to videos, learn how to use it, because there might be things that you would scratch in your head and pulling your hair out saying, I can't do this. And then you realize that, wow, through this video, now I can do it. And so it's a good resource that's already out there. Ask AV volunteers from other churches. Ask them. They want to tell you what they know and how they can get around a problem or fix something, or how they've done an improvement. It's an opportunity for you. Ask someone else that you know in another church. Reach out. I mean, you have sister churches maybe within your own denomination, if you're within the denomination. If you're non-denominational, maybe you know of other non-denominational churches. Or even if you just speak to people in churches that are in your vicinity, even if they're from a different denomination. Anybody who operates audio or video within those spaces, or operates the live streaming, they're going to have some knowledge that maybe is going to be beneficial to you. So that's what my call to action to you is.
There's an old, I don't know how old, but it's an old joke about how do you know that someone is a vegetarian? You know how to find that someone is a vegetarian, James?
No.
You don't ask them, they tell you. They brag about being vegetarians. Why do I bring this to your attention? Because the audio and video people is the same way. I'm one of those. When a church is coming in asking me, I feel so privileged, number one, to share my experience, but also ask, as James says, from your denomination, your organization, ask other churches, how are they dealing with these kind of problems? It's like simple as it is, a phone call. That's the reason why it's really important. If you're a worship and arts pastor, if you're a worship director in your church as a volunteer or full-time, don't be afraid and ask for help, because there's people who wants to help, and especially the volunteers in this area are so good about it. So don't be afraid. And by example, James is asking, and James is saying, find an online classroom base. In the description below, I will leave James' YouTube channel, and he has already 3 classes for basic audio mixing. And those are the classes that we're trying to put available for you. I will be bringing other classes regarding worship. With James, we're going to do a couple of things about technology. We're going to do about songwriting later on, but right now it's about this. Go like his videos, follow his channel, but also comment on this link on the comments below. Comment on his channel and everything, because we want to make sure that we are providing you with the tools that you need right now for your church. And these are the actions for this question. Another question for you, James. What prevents churches from updating technology?
Yes, that is always the question that, that certain people within the church will ask, because they've been tasked maybe to find a solution. And when they bring it back to the board or whatnot, something happens and it's just like, why did it not happen? I thought it was going to happen. I thought we were going to, take that step and be able to implement it, that we were going to be able to, extend our reach, extend the quality, and it kind of takes the wind out of the sails at that point. But the thing is that really, what is it that might prevent that from happening? And my answer to that is it's uncertainty. And that uncertainty usually is just surrounding the ability to pay for the technology, where somebody doesn't necessarily understand, how are we going to do this? And, is it worth it? And so I think that, you know, when we think about what could, what could maybe stop us, well, how much does it cost? Can we afford it? Um, how will we raise funds for this? Do we really need it now? Maybe we have something already. Well, we want to have this HD video screen, so that we can show things like HD. Well, we have this old one and it's like, it may not be widescreen, it may be more square. It might be a little fuzzy, but it still works. It hasn't stopped working yet, so why do we need to change it? Things like this may be happening, and it's difficult. And really, I mean, that's, it's something I think that we've all experienced at some point.
When you mentioned before about partnership with business around you, and now that we talk about this, the uncertainty right now in the surroundings with the pandemic and all the stuff, it's really hard to acquire technology, especially for churches at this point. So a couple of things that come to my mind. I won't mention any local businesses like music stores, but usually music stores, they have financing programs in their stores. So you can use those to your advantage. You can use those credit lines to purchase something right now in the meantime. Why? Because you cannot just like take a chunk of money like $3,000 for one camera, because you don't see the value right now. I do see a $5,000 camera value. I see spending in technology. My station, I can give you a tour later on in another video, but I have invested and I've been blessed also with certain equipment. But for you to present the gospel, you have to invest. By example, if you need a computer, Microsoft and Apple, they also have financing programs available for you. Don't be afraid. The thing is this, you have to present the best way possible the gospel. And this is the reason why I love these talks with James. This is for you the first time that you see James and me talking about it, but we have hours and hours invested in experience in talking about these problems. And he's just like, we have talked for years and years of doing important.
Hours and coffees.
Oh, hours and coffees. Oh, I have my own coffee too. I'm a coffee lover, by the way. If you want to send me a coffee, please, by all means. My email is in the description below, and you can send it to my home. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm a coffee lover. But what I want to say to you is don't be afraid of putting money to something that is going to last. I remember in all the churches, they usually, when they change a keyboard, I remember that I was working with, in the church that we met, the pastor has an amazing vision and everything. And he said to me, I'm a worship leader, I'm a worship pastor, but I'm a pianist, a songwriter, and a singer. And he said, I want you to purchase a new keyboard for the church because we don't have it. And remember that conversation, James? I went to the music store and I went to my favorite brand of keyboards. I grew up with Roland and Korg, Kurzweil. I wanted one of those keyboards. But when I sat down and they presented me a new brand and everything, and I will tell you how much is the keyboard. It was a Nord Piano 3. I sat, I put my headphones, and I have an encounter with God after touching that piano. That piano is $6,000. But I will tell you one thing. 5 years ago, that piano was purchased for that church. And guess what? The piano is still there. It's still in working condition and is still relevant for the music that we're playing in our churches. So purchase technology that is going to last you in between 5 to 10 years. Nord pianos is one of the brands that I like, is because when you have one Nord keyboard, you have updated libraries for life. So think about and try to trust, empower, by the way, not just trust, empower your volunteers to suggest you. Don't look at the price tag only. Of course, you need a budget. But as James says, make fundraisers for something that you need in the church. Use the credit lines available in music stores, computers. Try to buy the best technology. Not because, oh, I have the best technology. No, not at all. It's not about bragging or seeing who has the best technology in churches. No, it's because it's going to last you between 5 to 10 years. Churches doesn't change keyboards ever. Neither computers, neither anything in the church. So just make sure that if you invest, please invest wisely. So James, what are the actions that you can suggest regarding technology?
Well, the first thing is you want to prepare a detailed plan of how you intend to use this technology and how it will directly benefit the church. Try and include examples of the benefits experienced from other churches. So, when you're talking with other churches, they have a benefit. Try and include some of that as well, too, so that when you're talking about it, you can say, this church had this benefit, this other church had that benefit, this other church had that benefit. Build that into your presentation, your plan. Focus your presentation on the benefits and the impact it'll have on your ministries. Minimize the focus on the budget, and just have faith you'll make a way. Because at the end of the day, we realize your heart for this, when you're going to have this and you need this for your ministry, your heart is in it. And if your heart is in it, God will make a way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Don't try to be a salesman, but just try to see the benefits. And I think that's one of the best advices that I got from you. Because even I remember that we were talking about in certain point to bring the surveillance system to the church, and I see the benefit. I mean, yeah, but God protects us. Yeah, but still, we have liabilities, we have insurances, we have to be a reliable place and a safe place for everyone. Other story for other podcasts, but still, don't focus just on the price, but also on the benefits. And listen, the advices that James has given to us is just like, not just acquire good technology, but also train people, invest in people who's going to train your volunteers, set up a new system of discipleship. You bring people with experience to share with people who already is there, but start preparing different generations. People from 50 and up, people from 40 and up, 30, every generation, because we have to make sure that we have a wise investment in training, in technology, in everything. Don't try to buy a keyboard. Don't try to buy a mixer and say, no, nobody's going to touch it. Yeah, who's going to be there when your only guy for audio and video mixing for the live stream gets sick? So the senior pastors and the worship pastors are the ones who end up doing everything. Please don't be a pastor who fixes everything, who does everything, and who's there for everything. No, empower. This is about trust, okay? This is about trust, and this is about an action that we have to see. So train and try to present your technology budgets based on the benefits in a short and also in a long term. So I think that this is going to be almost the end of our conversation with James. If you have conversations with other pastors and other people locally, please make sure that you have it. Ask your questions in your comments below. Please, my email for Hope for Today TV is going to be there. The email for James, I'm just like putting you in the spotlight. I'm sorry. For James, if you want to ask him, it's going to be there. And this is Tech Talk, hosted by Hope for Today and Networks Video and Audio Inc. in Ontario, Canada. And this one has been an amazing experience. I cannot stop saying thank you to you, James, for your
Thank
knowledge,
you.
for your experience.
Glad we had this chance to do this, and I'm looking forward to it again, hopefully next week.
Hopefully next week. So for us, it's all for today. And for you, put in action all the advices and all the ideas that we have given you. Have an amazing day and see you next time.